Hey, who? Joe William in the house. William Archibald Show. Live right now. Right here.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, I want to give let's thank Matt for being here. Everybody, give him a big old round of applause. Thank you all for being here as well. And Will Brooks, Axon Jackson, everybody that's tuning in, man, get in this comment section. My beautiful wife, look, here we are. Today it is Thursday, 6:30 p.m. on North Carolina time, East Coast Standard, and we are going to roll into a few subjects and see if we can't ruffle a few feathers out there on YouTube and maybe hopefully not get demonetized or strike a roof. And we have some stuff just about election integrity that I want to touch base with. Nothing big major, but something that I have noticed though, and it's very interesting so far as the public's acceptance of understanding that elections aren't as secure as they thought they were back in 2020. Matt even had ran across some information about polls. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, a poll, 53% of Americans say in-person voting is more secure than mail-in voting. Only 13% say mail-in voting is better. And that's the 13% that don't actually exist.
those are probably fake people just as much as they were ballots.
See, here's the issue with that poll. It's not a Gateway Pundit poll. That's where the article. That's where I got it from the article. It's a poll that's conducted by a liberal organization. So I would say there's a pretty good chance it's higher than that. I'd say it's probably around 60, 65% more likely. How they like under polling stuff.
Well, we actually have people are starting to understand that polls aren't exactly as accurate as they were originally, talked about. And another thing about polling, and this is something that we talked about on the live that when I was on your channel, that's at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesdays on American Patriot, is that Republicans. This is related, by the way. Check it out. When Republicans are asked questions about their voting history, who they support, and all that, they're not very honest or they're not very open about it because of the political persecution that seems to be ramping up in America. So the polling numbers for Republicans and conservatives tend to be a little bit lower until the actual time comes for elections to be held. And they're like, wow, the polling showed this, but these are the numbers here because we ain't saying nothing about what we're actually doing because we're afraid of the violence that may be incurred because of Democrats who are the violent people. This is they want to label conservatives or anybody that's a quote now a Trump supporter is a brand. These people are violent, domestic terrorist extremists.
I think that's true about MAGA, not Republicans in general. It's MAGA that like holding close to the vest and not actually answering these polls correctly. A lot of times they won't answer stuff like that. And that's what really affects the polling, people not answering the phone, stuff like that. And so they're like this, okay, so they oversample Democrats. And so it makes it look like, well, I think they do that anyway on purpose. But then it makes it look like Democrats have a way wider lead. I think a perfect example is that Iowa poll that came out like 3 days before the election and said Trump was going to lose Iowa by 3 points. And he won Iowa by 13? So...
but see, what's funny is the Democrats would consider that a win when they poll very high. But in a way, we get this thing like if you're winning a race and you're leading off, you tend to fall back a little bit because you're in the lead. You get comfortable, and so maybe it's a good thing that our pollings do show low because that has been a problem in the past. Is whenever we feel like we're winning, we kind of fall back a little bit. You don't open those legs up and take that long stride, and that extra polling for Democrats makes them comfortable. They're like, yeah, look at us, we win and we good. And then the whole time, conservatives are like, oh crap, and so we come out at the end of the race, we just pull right ahead at the what do they call it at the when you're drag racing, but what I mean by that is in race cars, not in the other thing.
You pull ahead at the last meter. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. You pull right ahead right there. You pull it off. Win by a car length is what they would say, and whole shot they say. But so yeah, that is a thing. Now, um, because of that people understanding elections aren't quite as secure as they thought they were, it's been a little bit easier to get some legislation passed. And right now, Trump has, said, "Well, you know what? I'm going to do an executive order." We'll talk to them. I know Matt's got a lot in the executive. This isn't as easy as people think. Executive order to get rid of mail-in ballots is not. It just sounds really good on paper, but because
Don't,
of the fact
don't
that
forget
states
the machines too. The machines too.
and getting rid of the electronic machines and using just hand counted, which I think that's the way we should go. But the thing is because of states being sovereign and how they run their elections, it's not going to be that easy to do that. I don't disagree with Trump. I know what his intentions are, and I think they're really good. But you know, the fact of the matter is because you don't want to take that away from states because you could have a rubber band effect of like if you say, well, you know what, that did be no different than federalizing elections. That's what Nancy Pelosi tried to do whenever she was like right after the 2020 election occurred. They were like, we're going to federalize elections. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it was the John Lewis Act.
Hmm.
Yep.
And so in a sense, that's almost it's the same scenario, but on an extreme to where he actually has good intentions, but that could be inverted later on. But it makes for a good argument later on for maybe to campaign more and more to move in that direction on a state level, which kind of fortifies that. Because if you get all the states on board, which you'll never get blue state, you will never get a blue state to get on board with that. Just hang it up. But if you're already a red state, you see the writing on the wall, you can go ahead and secure your and maybe those electoral votes will always be there. Maybe.
I kind of look at it as symbolic more than anything else, the executive order, because it doesn't have constitutional teeth, I guess is the best way to put it. And
Yeah.
it doesn't, you can't take away states' rights well with it. So I think it's the reason he did it is because he wants the governors and the houses and senate in these states that are mostly Republican because they're the ones that are going to be willing to do it to go and look into this and do it, right?
Mhm.
And when it comes to the other states, he's hoping that we could actually make those more conservative as time goes on. That's the whole point. Also, with trying to get the illegals off of the census and stuff like that, because he wants to show the
Mhm.
real numbers of who actually should be in charge of the states of each state. That is,
Exactly.
and also another thing I want to mention. We're talking about elections. That article that came out from the New York Times, people have been talking about when it comes to registrations.
Mhm.
And the registrations for the Democrats have been awful. Like if you look at through the 2024 until now, uh, the Republicans have registered 2.5 million people to register as Republicans. Democrats
Mhm.
have lost 2.1 million. That is a transfer of almost 5 million registrations into the Republican column. And that's
Mhm.
the big thing that actually helped Trump win the election in 2024 when it comes
Mhm.
and also the other thing that's interesting is Pennsylvania is about to flip red when it comes to the positive because if you look at 2020 or 2016 when Trump won, you know how far the Democrats were ahead when it comes to registration for Democrat Party in Pennsylvania? They were at
Mhm.
1.3 million. And
Mhm.
then before the election happened, they were right around I'm talking about 2020. They were right around half that. And then if you look at 2024, they were right around 100,000. And right
Mhm.
now, the numbers are I think it's right around 50,000. So
Yeah.
by the end of the year, there's really good chance that Pennsylvania is going to be plus Republican in the registration column, and also North Carolina just became plus Republican in a registration column last last month.
Oh,
So
wow.
you're starting to see these states becoming more and more red, which is a good thing, and
Yeah.
it's going to help JD Vance win. Now,
Mhm.
the thing is, North Carolina has not been when it comes to positive Republicans ever. This first time when it comes to
Mhm.
registration. No, normally they vote rights of what their register numbers are. Same with
Yeah.
Pennsylvania normally. But
Yeah.
what's changed
We have,
is we're going out there and registering people on as much as possible and try to get them
mhm.
registered to vote for Republicans. So
and
that's
and the
that's the big
Democrats make it a lot easier with their policy.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That yeah, what? Well, should I or should I not go Democrat? Well, then all you got to do is just be like, let me show you a thing or two, and they're like, oh crap, and yeah, and yeah, people. That's a sign of an awakening too. Um, you know, and as much as I love to, this right here is a good cat and mouse game. The real power lies behind the paper financial system set up by the Rothschilds, which who control all of our kind of our things. But we can move a little bit at a time, and a collective conscience makes a big difference. So that's one thing we can't rule out is the evil that runs our economy and that system that kind of keeps us in play due to the fact of that economy. By the way, which is really it's not even a thing. Like there's these dollar bills. I mean, yes, we need to figure out a way of currency, but these dollar bills are just absolutely meaningless. Uh, there's no real nothing behind it. And the fact that they can control inflation by just when they want to print money or when they want to, control interest rates,
Well,
that's all out of our.
yeah, inflation's controlled by a lot of different things, but
Mhm.
printing money actually rises inflation more than anything
Oh
because
yeah,
when you put more dollars into the system, what happens when there's more of something? That means the value of it goes down. Okay, when
yeah,
there's less of something, that means the value goes up. So whenever we decide to raise interest rates, the point of that is actually to bring the money in so you could destroy that money and get rid of out of the system, and then that would make that's the reason we have the interest rates high as it is right now because that's what he's trying to do. Here's my thing: they're fighting an endless battle because if you're going to do that, stop printing the damn money then.
mhm, yes, yes, yes. But they usually do that because of ill intent. They print a bunch of money because they need it so that they can send it out to fund their military industrial complex, which in itself like I said, but our job is to kind of acclimate the public so that they're not so easily swayed and hoodooed. That's what our job is. And now, can we save the world in a day? No. Are we going to win this in 6 months? No. Are we going to be in a constant struggle for power? And not necessarily what I mean by power is I don't want to have power over Matt. I don't want to have power over you guys out here in the comment sections. I want to have empowerment from within. And that comes from being able to think critically. That's our job. And that's what we want to do. And that's, and then lead and just lead people to be self sufficient. And if other government officials that we elect had that mindset, we would be a beautiful place. But they don't. So we're here. And thank you guys for being here as well. Moving on to Georgia, I got this is something that's been kind of flying under the radar here because I kind of threw one at Matt. He was like, "I didn't know about this," and he probably does. It's just that he sees so much stuff every day that it runs through. In Fulton County, by the way, which is a very famous county due to the fact of the great Fannie Willis, she is so mad about that too. By the way, and the more that she got mad about the fact that we didn't pronounce her name right, only made people continue to say Fannie to the point where even CNN now they'll go Fannie Willis. I'm like, you do know that that's wrong. It doesn't matter. We're going to say it anyways. They make my name sound like a big butt. Well, yes, we do. Yes, we do. But Fulton County, famous for Fannie Willis, they have two Republicans that need to be seated. And this is how desperate the left has come. And this is how lawless that they're, they want to accuse us of, being lawless and being a dictator and all this stuff whenever they've got activist, uh, whatever council people who have been ordered by a judge to seat these two Republicans because just like Texas, they decided not to show up for work to vote on these people because they knew that they would lose the vote. These people would have been seated. So to prolong that, they just decided not to come to work. Now, they didn't get a Soros funded airplane brought to you by Beto O'Rourke like the people in Texas, but they just decided not to come to work, which held up the vote. which then it then turned on a switch that is legal by the system for a judge to intervene, go in there and say, well, look, these were the two most popular candidates by the numbers that we've got here. So that means that the commissioners need to seat these people so that business can go as usual. Well, they've decided, because of that fact and some other stuff that they just decided to interpret on their own, they feel they are at right to just leisurely not do it. And now in this county, as we speak, they're being fined $10,000 a day, which is, what's funny is that's more action than Texas did. And this is Fulton County, guys. So, what'd you say, Matt?
I was like, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Texas didn't do anything. Bunch of pusses. Yeah.
You can say the whole word on this channel. It's okay.
Oh, no.
Here you go.
You know the joke? Only thing in Texas is steers and queers. Well, we know what's in Texas now after that.
I just want to correct.
All right, so I have a video right here. This is happening right now. Like if we were in New Hampshire, this is happening right now. Discussion process for appointment of members of the Board of Registration and Elections in light of another recent court order.
I just want to correct some things because there is a lot of misinformation that goes around, and I think public comment corrected. There seems to be misinformation that Julie Adams had 3 lawsuits. She had 1 lawsuit. That misinformation was stated by commissioners up here on the dais. It was repeated here by Democrat officials that claim they're nonpartisan, but they're so highly partisan, it's ridiculous.
That is.
You need to know the difference between mail-in ballots and absentee ballots. Mail-in ballots are when states mail everybody a ballot. Absentee ballots are not going away. Seniors are not going to lose their ballots. That was something that's put out there, and it's misinformation, disinformation.
That's what
electronic
the Democrats
voting. Oh yeah, they love doing.
Yes, there are people that want hand paper ballots counted, hand counted paper ballots. There are people that want those. We have electronic voting. We need to make it more secure. But the Democrats were for hand-marked paper ballots. Elena Parrott was on the floor advocating against the Dominion machines. Well, now they seem to got the system in place that works in their favor. So now, oh no.
Hey, can you pause it for a minute?
Yes, definitely. I can't weigh in on this, Matt.
Stop using the same software and the same machines that they use in Venezuela, and you'd be good.
Okay. Yes, dude. I would love to send these people an old school Commodore 64, and get you to retrofit your cable box to it, and I think they'd be all right. I think they'd be good. There are, you got these, and it was for years before Democrats realized, hey, this is for you guys. The Democrats, even Kamala Harris was on record saying these machines aren't secure. They are prone to this and that and this and that.
Yeah, and, matter of fact, there's a documentary about it, and it's on HBO Max. It's funny.
But then somebody was like, "Hey guys, these things are for you." Oh! These are for you guys. Now they're all like, "We got to keep these machines. There's no way we can effectively count paper ballots. You know how long that will take? It would take weeks or months to count all those ballots." Well, welcome to California, where an election with electronic machines takes weeks or months.
Yeah, that's not true. Here's the thing: what you got, how you got to count them is you got to count them in the precincts. If you count them in the precincts, then you'll get it done that night. Look at Florida.
And if something's wrong, you can find out where it happened at. When you do what they do in a lot of these blue run states, where they just pack them all up and have very little chain of custody, go to a whole nother place and count them, you can't figure out where the problem is. And that's all calculated.
Operations center is what they call it.
Yes. Right. And that means you've got a whole new thing of chain of custody, which is completely their chain of custody. By the way, let's talk about that in 2020. I recall all the whistleblowers and all the people that were working the polls who signed affidavits because they were ready to be in front of a judge and have their case heard, and sign these affidavits because they were truthful Because if you sign an affidavit and you're proving that you're actually openly lying in court to start some kind of crazy mess and you could be held accountable and or prison. So these people signed affidavits, gave their testimony saying, you know what? Whenever we were there, all these suitcases and boxes and stuff that are supposed to have special seals to make sure that they've been, secured and the chain of custody is all in place. None of that existed. These seals were broken. There was logs that weren't filled out, and that was just one of the many things that happened in 2020 that I remember all so well. And you'll have that same issue even in your not so bad elections that happened in 20. Because you got to remember in 2024, Matt and I did what was it, like an 8-hour live stream? I think it was. Was it 8? We were on their computer for a long time, and I recall at 9 p.m. all of a sudden. Do you remember all the rider trucks that started coming in? You remember that?
Oh, uh, yeah, I remember that. That was in uh, Michigan when that happened. But here's the thing: we don't know what they were delivering or if they're delivering anything. That's my
They got
thing.
turned around.
Okay.
Well, because that was when Laura Trump was actually running the RNC. She
Well,
was
they
they were
well the thing is at that time you didn't have COVID going on, so there wasn't that distance that people had to keep away from each other. Not only that, they
right.
also had a lot of cameras outside watching this, and
Uh-huh.
they were like, "This we can't do the same thing." That's what. Well, I'm assuming they thought that, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's a, but but so there's countries right now. Do you know, guys, that Mexico does not allow mail-in voting? I think Matt and I've talked about this. He knows this, but I'm just asking you guys out here in the comment section. They do not allow mail-in voting because they understand that it's not secure. And this is Mexico. The cartel runs everything, and the cartel is smart enough to know that they can't do that. It just doesn't work. Uh, but other countries they use paper ballots. And they've got a pretty large population, and they can get in there and count everything and have it all done at a really efficient time because they do like Matt said, they run their elections in precincts, and as they come in, they count them. They have poll watchers there. Everything's under video surveillance, and it's very secure. It's very efficient. All of the ballots have watermarks on them, so they all have serial numbers and can be identified. And you know, and those places do a lot better. And so there's no reason why, given the fact that uh, America is as vast as it is and as resourceful as we are, we can't do the same thing. But I'm gonna let the video play a little bit more.
Fair fight. Commissioner Ivory, you're familiar with Fair Fight since you are a former Fair Fight activist or still are, and your staff is. They are at our election Gavrio conference recruiting election members to become a part. Election deniers undermine our faith. That's so ridiculous. What is an election denier? Election denier is anybody who wants integrity in our elections. By state law, we need to reconcile that the number of people voted equals the number of ballots cast. We do not obey that law. There is a new rule that we have to do it before certification. That is why Julie Adams, her lawsuit was, I need information to make sure that the number of people voted equals the number of ballots cast. That's called integrity. That's called checks and balances. That's called transparency.
Mm-hmm.
We are anything but transparent in our elections. And all we are doing is advocating for secure processes. Did you know in the PSC race, we had 8 tabulators that came in, or I think it may be 7 tabulators that came in on Friday night and were not secured. No security at all to them. They sat in our warehouse till Tuesday with hundreds of temp workers all around it, night and day. But no, we have secure elections because the press, the liberal press, local and national news says that we have secure elections. So we must be undermining our democracy by calling out these questions, by calling out these things, by advocating for more secure processes. And I do respect both of you for staying up here. Thank you. I appreciate you guys being here and stating your decision not to appoint them. I respect that honestly, and I hope in the future that we can have simple conversation. I know Commissioner Ivory, you and I have talked about we are on opposite sides, but we don't get anywhere by just staying on opposite sides and putting out misinformation. We need to have a talking community.
Well, the thing is, she may or may not realize this, but the Democrat side is out for blood, political blood, that is. And well, I don't know, considering some of the things I've seen recently, physically too, as well. But, they're not in it to try to come together and work together by no means. They're here to disrupt, destroy, and disarray, and then blame the other side so that they're not guilty. So you won't get that. You're not going to get that. And because of the fact that their policies are complete junk, and all they want to do is destroy society and embark on a globalist agenda, which means less humans on this earth, it's going to be hard to sell their policy because people are now awake, which means that the only way for them to move forward at this point is through political violence, psychological operations, social conditioning, and hopefully being able to meddle in elections in any way possible. Matt, would you disagree?
No.
Yeah. That's pretty good that Matt can actually, usually Matt comes at me. I love this. Thank you. I feel pretty good about that little statement there then. Because yes. By the way, anybody that does live streams that's on our stream, me and Matt are like, I love our combination of content, the way that we do things. I'm out there on a limb and can get us a strike in the channel ban. Matt is very good at being able to run a very efficient channel and help me stay within the bounds of YouTube. And so you ever see us going back and forth, it's a good thing. It's a great thing. It's dialogue, because I don't want us to be in an echo chamber. I don't want this to be a stream where we just agree this, and this. I need somebody that has an opinion outside of mine so that we can figure out different angles to approach what's happening to America. And I think that what Matt brings to the table is a wonderful thing. So, like I said, I thank Matt for being here too, by the way. But just a little bit more of this video.
We need to face each other face to face, dispute the facts. So I do appreciate that. I hope we can have further discussion later. But with that being said, I think we're undermining our elections. If they get nominated, our democracy is gonna end. If you have someone in there that's actually questioning to see materials to make sure things add up, to make sure our voter rolls, people aren't voting twice, because there are people who are voting twice. They vote in our state and they vote in their state, and they're not removed from our voter rolls. So we are advocating for a better election process. This is who the GOP picked to represent them. And courts now have given us an order that they need to be appointed. So with that being said, I think we need to take a vote.
And at that point is when they decided to, once again, not appoint these people, because they do not, Matt, weigh in on this. I'm sorry, I talked too much.
Well, the reason they wouldn't appoint them, I'm guessing, is because they had a different opinion on elections and stuff like that. I'm guessing that's the reason.
The Fulton County
That's the
Board
reason they're getting fined, because of what
Yeah.
because of it. Because they're doing it for political reasons and power reasons, not because of some other kind of reason that's actually legitimate.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me see what this lady's going to say here. Hold on, let me get this up.
That's a liberal, I'm pretty sure.
is
But anyway,
the
yeah.
Fulton County Board of Commission meeting day, and we have a couple really important agenda items that I want to make you aware of. First of all, we will be having an emergency add-on to our agenda to respond to the judge's order that we as a board appoint the election deniers, Jason Frazier and Julie Adams. Unfortunately,
Yeah, you can hear the actual desperation in their demeanor. The anger, the the disdain, and they love
I
to
mean,
use these key.
I was
What?
waiting for the N word to come out like Nazi. You know,
Ah!
that's what I was waiting on. Like they
I
call
agree. I'll
Trump.
go. Yeah, that's what she actually, yeah. I mean, most conservatives, even whenever all this stuff was going down, they were pretty calm and collective. You didn't see this behavior. These people are nuts. They are bazonkers.
They're willing
And
to take a $10,000 per day fine. Wow.
they
Okay,
don't have,
sorry.
who's
I just,
paying that? Who's
yeah,
paying that?
the DNC probably.
But don't they only have like $14 million to work with?
Not anymore. They just gave Kamala Harris $15 million to pay her debt.
So they're in the hole a million. So who's going to pay? Where are they going to launder this money from? How's it going to get there? Are they going to actually ask to borrow money from Zelensky?
I don't know. They're you know what? I want the Democrats need to get something back from that. Yeah, at this point, I mean,
yeah, we like they're going to be like, look, Zelensky, we gave you a bunch of money. We got a problem here.
I mean,
And
what's funny is the Democrats that normally donate money to the Democrat Party aren't doing it anymore. You know why? Because USAID's money funneling operation is going on into their bank accounts is no longer there, and they're like, "This look, we like pretending we like giving money to good causes, but we really don't like doing it. We like using taxpayer money to do it."
Well, and also, I don't know how functional Act Blue is anymore. Is that a thing? Is that still kind of doing stuff?
No, the reason it's not is because a majority of that money was coming from, and this is my opinion,
Yeah.
but the way it was working is it was being funneled through NGOs going into corporations and stuff, then funneled out, and then going into Democrat coffers through Act Blue. And the thing is, without USAID and sending money to NGOs, that's the reason you see. NPR was going to go out of business anyway. So was PBS. If Trump didn't defund it, it was going to go out of business anyway. That's the reason you're also seeing a lot of these other companies. They're starting to merge and stuff because they're not getting that money anymore. They're not getting what was keeping them afloat. And now you're seeing like people like Code Pink, also other companies too, that are going completely they're going crazy about what's happening with their money because they're not getting it anymore.
Yeah, it's funny. They love spending other people's money. See,
Yes.
what people don't realize is like all of what happened from 2020 to 2024 to help fund the RNC. That was all grassroots donations from people that were using their small dollars they had and donating. That is a big statement to the Democrat Party, who they knew they're watching this in real time, knowing that all their money came from laundered entities that were, Matt was saying, NGOs, but the NGOs are operating some kind of like thing under a grant from USAID. So that money was never anything that they really had to earn. That was just somebody's gas money for the Subaru, pretty much, on a larger scale.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that's the reason you have a lot of illegals coming to the United States too. Those NGOs, they're going to south of the border, getting them fill out paperwork and get them in that way. And guess what? Majority of those NGOs, who controlled them? Who actually controlled them? People like Soros.
Well, yeah, the Open Society Foundations, because we say Soros, but yeah, it's all Soros, but their surrogate is the Open Society Foundation, and they operate through that as a cutaway so that it isolates them from any kind of legal action.
About it also is south of the border. What were they using? They're using these organizations that had these NGOs that were religious organizations.
Yes,
and throwing that money in the air, then the money would come around and go into the Democrat Party. That's why when you look at 2016, that's interesting. Because Hillary Clinton when she ran, she promised religious organizations, "Hey, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you." A quid quo.
Yeah.
In order for
Yeah.
for them to actually promote her in their churches and everything else to get elected.
Yeah. 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 And if I'm not mistaken, because using religious organizations, that kind of shields you from taxes to a certain extent, correct?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
So the money they got from taxpayer money, those NGOs that or from religious organizations, they don't have to pay taxes on it when they use it.
Mhm. Well, so that's dollar for dollar shooting right through these religious organizations as they then invest that money into the NGOs that then take that money and then spend it on cramming stuff up your American butthole.
Yeah, through the media, through Planned Parenthood, Code Pink.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just
Uh-huh.
name it. ACLU. I mean, there's so much crap. And
Oh man, the
then
ACLU.
then it'll filter into Act Blue, and then boom, go into the Democrat coffers. Crazy,
Hmm?
ain't it?
But what a intricate and well woven scheme. I gotta tip my hat at these criminals because they came out with this before there was real AI to figure this out for them. I mean, but the thing was is they didn't actually spend any time on learning how to do anything legitimate way and putting work into it because like most criminals, this goes all the way down to like criminals who steal scrap metal and copper wire. These fools will work all night long to get a load of scrap copper up, and there'll be two or three of them that work together in their little Subaru, or maybe it could even be a Nissan Altima, whatever. But anyways, it may have a spare tire on it, but they would just go to work instead of all this scheming to try to steal copper wire to go then make money off of that to buy their drugs or do whatever they do, put nose rings in their ear and pink hair and stuff and really stupid face tattoos. Just would have went to work. The effort that they put into their criminal would have been a bigger payout just to go to work, just do some regular work hours. But Democrats are too busy with butt plugs, and people that steal copper wire are too busy with drugs. So it really interrupts their time for being at work. So that's the only thing I can come up with. So, what do you think?
Well, the thing is, this is a learned behavior. They had to learn it from somewhere. And my theory is they learned it from the Clinton Foundation in 2016, because that was the money laundering operation that they used to actually fund her campaign, was the Clinton Foundation, not Act Blue. Act Blue didn't become really big until about 2018 and
Mm.
during that midterm, and then they just took off with it in 2020 after the whole protests and riots that happened when it comes to uh, uh, what was it? Black Lives Matters and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Black Lives Matter is really what got them on the board when it comes to people paying
Mm.
attention to what they're doing with money.
Yeah. Well, with the whole time when they were like, Black Lives Matter, white people are the threat to society.
I would steer away from that, bud.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you, Matt. All right. So what Patrice Cullors did was like, I'm going to take all the money that you gave BLM and I'm going to buy me a big nice house in a fancy Caucasian neighborhood that's got a gate so that none of you nutcases can come mess with me. And you know, that's a thing. What's up, Neil? And Stormbringer, by the way, Isabella. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you for being here.
yeah. I'm just now flipping over because I was checking out this or doing this thing here with this liberal. Let's watch more liberal Tias.
Fortunately, the court has ruled against us, which I think is the wrong ruling. We've tried to get a stay from the court.
Is she on methamphetamine, Bonnie?
I got a question. These people, did they win an election? I mean, what happened?
I don't know. they're supposed to be seated. All I know is that there's some Republicans that ain't been seated. I imagine there's got to be some kind of election they won.
Yeah, I'd say if they're not actually allowing them to be seated, then they're going against democracy. Right?
They're a threat to democracy. our constitutional republic is under a threat at the moment, because that's what we are. This whole threat to democracy thing is just nothing but a psyop brought to you by the CIA to get people to forget that we are a constitutional republic. But anyway,
of Appeals that was denied, and so we will likely have to take this up today. And our elections are under attack in this country. We're seeing it with, obviously, in Texas.
They are.
We're
She's not lying. They are under attack, but it's by them. They're the ones doing it.
seeing it all over the country in different ways. And now they're talking about taking away mail-in ballots and electronic voting. And this is just another arena in which they are trying to chip away at free and fair elections and our right to vote and our right to have a democracy. And so, despite the judge's orders, I will never support putting 2 election deniers on our Board of Registration and Elections. Not with my vote. I have.
Yeah, there you go.
Put her in jail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we should do. She needs to be arrested.
You know what? If you're not willing to do that, then guess what? You lose your seat. How about that?
She has now moved her meat, and I think she should lose her seat. But everything she said, everything everything that we're watching her say about the mail-in ballots and the electronic machines is the reason why elections aren't secure. That's their voter base, and she understands that. They're getting rid of our voter base. What do you mean? The illegals are deporting? Well, yeah, and the machines, because there's just digital numbers out there that they're like, look, this is our voters. Where's your voters? They show you a picture of an N555 timer. Yeah, this is my, this computer chip votes for me. I'm like, lady, this isn't how this works.
Free will, and I will not
peace. I hear you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm flipped over and I can't see.
Ever. Oh. I'm in this job to defend our democracy. And I've said over and over again that I feel like these county commission seats are the last defense. And so I will stand tall and take whatever consequences come my way, whether it's fines or jail or whatever it is, because this is that important.
Yeah. I'm reading her We Need Peace's comment. Thank you for being here, We Need Peace. Low Dimes, working on my daughter's car, taking it to her college, 3-hour drive. She's my oldest kid, 5th year of college. Low Dimes, we pray for your daughter's sanity. Congratulations, but
hopefully she has been indoctrinated.
Yes. Yes. Keep an eye on that there. Yeah, good job taking care of those kids. So, Low Dimes, you're a good soul, But yeah, that right there, that lady and her demeanor is just a good indication of liberalism and panicism. Panicus. What do they call us? Panicans?
I don't know. I might need a hide again afterwards.
Yes. God Almighty, that I feel sorry for that woman's mirror in her bathroom. That's all I can say. It's seen things we don't ever want to see.
I guess. I don't. Are you? I don't know what you're indicating because I can't read between lines on that one. I'm a little autistic in that way. What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say that mirror has been through hell. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, it's not as bad as the mirror that the Clintons have. I'll tell you that.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine that? Here, mirror's like, damn, here comes Hillary again. Son of a gun.
It's full length. Shit,
dude. So that's happening in Fulton County. Why is Fulton County outperforming Big Texas when it comes to holding these criminal Democrats responsible for stuff? Why is that happening? What?
Hey, your guess is as good as mine. This is a little bit different situation. It's because they're withholding something and they haven't left the state. I don't know. It's a little different. There's not as many people involved. Like if you look at the Democrat thing, I think there's near like 40 people or 50 people involved.
Yeah,
here I think
people in jail.
I think the people that are involved in this is 2 or 3 altogether. So it's a little different. But yeah, I agree with you. I think those people in Texas should have at least gotten some kind of fine. And I think really the one that's going to pay the ultimate price is probably Beto, because when you look into what happened with that, when the judge told him he needs to stop
He didn't
raising
do it.
money for it, he didn't do it. He's kept on doing it. So I look at it,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's contempt of court. He needs to be put in prison or
Yeah.
jail.
Well, he also
at least.
did he
At
not
least-
stop doing it. He also did a video. He went on some like live things going F the rules.
Oh
gonna,
no,
you know-
he what he did was a couple of rallies.
Yeah.
Right? And people were donating money. It was part of the whole getting money. Right.
Yeah. And said F the rules. And do you know what's funny is Gavin Newsom was like, "Heh, hold my beer. Oh, wait a minute. Hold my White Claw." And it says, "I'm going to punch Republicans in the mouth." I'm like,
Who's afraid of this dude?
Gavin Newsom. Do I?
This is a dude that's getting freaked out because people are sending him Trump 2028 hats.
Yeah. I would, you know what? I'd like maybe 5 minutes alone with Gavin Newsom to see exactly how much mouth punching he'd get done. Well, that's all I'm going to say. He would get. Hank Williams Jr. came up with a song called "Attitude Adjustment." You ever heard it before?
Yeah.
It's a pretty good song. Yeah. And Fulton County also. Do you remember whenever they illegally recorded Trump's phone call when he said, "I want you to find all of the votes, not votes for me, not votes for so and so. I want you to go in there," because he knew that there was allegedly votes that weren't being counted. There was piles of this stuff. They just decided to stop counting when they got the number they wanted. He said, "Raffensperger, dude, come on, man. Come on, bro. Count go find me all the votes. I need you to find." And they selectively edited that phone call and then produced it out onto the radio program shows and stuff, and then promoted it on their local news so that Fani Willis could say, "Look at what Trump did. He's trying to meddle the election," which is exactly what they did. If I'm not mistaken. Isn't Fulton County? Where was Ruby Riemann from?
Fulton County's in Atlanta.
Yeah, I know that, but where was Ruby Riemann at? I can't remember.
Fulton County.
Guys, are you seeing a pattern? And then you come after Rudy Giuliani saying, "Yeah, he's the one who actually went in there and gave up her identity." And no, it wasn't. It was not him. It was another guy, but he didn't have any money. He didn't have a whole lot. He was just like an independent content creator. And so instead of going after that guy who had nothing, they decided to hit Rudy Giuliani over the head and drag him through the mud, because he was actually really working hard to get this into the mainstream, so that's why Rudy Giuliani ended up winning back what they tried to rule on him through corrupt activist judges through default judgment. Because once they actually looked at who actually did that, it wasn't even Rudy Giuliani who said anything. It was another guy that got actually a lot of views on YouTube. Remember that?
I like what Neil said here.
What's that?
Stormbringer. Last time I tried to toss y'all beer through the computer, I cracked the screen.
By the way, if you want to have a good time, go check out Princess Raven on the YouTubes. They play music. It's like a radio. It's like listening to the radio, but you can interact with all of the people listening, and you can actually request songs. Stormbringer's there moderating and hanging out. Cindy Z will be there doing stuff. If you go to that channel, you're not going to see any videos, because after every stream they delete videos because they're playing music, and to avoid copyright, it's live. They just do it live. You're going to see when it pops up. You get in there, hang out, and you won't have too much. You're going to have a lot of fun hanging out with that group of people, because Stormbringer's a funny dude, and all the people on there, like Isabella's there. We Need Peace will be there. My wife doesn't. She hangs out sometimes. I'm in there too when I got time. I like to hang out with those people. And what's this say? Topside Beantown waving. Oh wow! Thank you for being here. I have not seen you in the comments before, so you must be new to this channel. You are part of a family, and good luck. Good because we're a wild group of people here, and just always look for my videos because YouTube doesn't send out notifications. They throttle this channel immensely because of the fact that our content is so good. They don't want anybody to see it. There, yeah, most definitely. So, Tina Peters is still in the mainstream a little bit. There was an interview with Doug Hoff or Joe Hoff. I'm sorry, Joe Hoff from the Gateway Pundit, and I read through some of this stuff, and they're pretty much she's going through some court battles right now. And I'll be honest with you, I think I'd rather her be vindicated in appeals court than actual pardon, because that way, nobody can use that as against her in narrative, I guess you would call it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I agree with you, but the thing is that might take years. And I think the best thing to do if she hasn't been vindicated and been released by 2024 or 2028 or before, what I would do is if I was Trump, I would actually pardon her before he leaves office.
Yeah. That would be the thing to do. She actually, you could argue the fact that she did something wrong, but actually she didn't. There's a lot of people now. In case you're new to this case,
here's okay. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, you're good. Let me get this up here. I'm going to show you.
I was going to say, look, the thing is, what she did is the same thing the damn governor or not the Secretary of State did. Matter of fact, the Secretary of State did something worse than she did. So, she's not in jail.
Jocelyn Benson.
Yeah, she went out there and put the damn passwords for the machines on the internet.
Yes, that was a big problem, and there was no legal recourse against her. And it's funny because that was the 2024 election. That was how Trump still won even after she put all the passwords to the machines out in mainstream, like everybody. Here you go. Which good thing those things don't hook up to the internet, Matt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is Tina Peters. In case you're probably new to this stuff, she back in I think what state was she in? What was it?
Colorado.
Colorado is a very corrupt state. Thank you, Matt. She was in charge of archives, and she was in charge of her job was making sure that records were archived and different things. And when it came to elections, and also she helped to run the elections. And after the 2020 election was over, there was a company who sent in a team of computer technicians, and I use that with quotations, who were going to update the machines. Every time they update the machine, something terrible goes wrong. We saw that happen in 2022 whenever they misprinted all the ballots and it screwed up the voting and kind of screwed up Kerry Lake's election. Anyways, yeah.
It only happened in Republican areas too. Yeah, what a coincidence.
Only Republican. And none of the judges would extend the voting hours to help compensate for the fact that the machines were down. Which that is an electronic version of Jim Crow style voter suppression, brought to you by the Democrats once again. Because Jim Crow was Democrat stuff too. Anyhow, Tina Peters knew something wasn't right. And because of the fact that she wasn't able to do what needed to be done, she called in a certified computer technician to archive the election data of 2020. And because it wasn't her personally that archived this data, it was somebody outside of her. It wasn't approved by the county. So, the quote unquote protocol, which there was no time to do. They held her in a legal challenge to where they said that she compromised information of people where they could be, their information could be stolen. So they gave her some kind of felony charges, and they didn't just give her. See, all these Democrats do terrible things, and they get to go to court and get rulings like Jesse Smollett did, where they just get a slap on the wrist, pay a little bit of money, try to work it out in the media where they didn't do anything wrong. Her got the book thrown at her, and the maximum sentence, even though she had a complete and total clean record as a gold star mom with a son in the military who did excellent things for our country, they threw the book at her and made an example. Don't you ever dare try to keep from us when we want to erase information. Because basically when they went in there to update the machines, they ended up supposedly they, not Tina Peters, but the people that were supposed to be sent in to certify that, I mean, to update the machines, all the election data got erased. All the evidence, in other words, the evidence of an alleged crime that took place was erased immediately. And Colorado had some very, very strange things that happened that were definitely worth looking into. Well, she had a complete and total archive of that. And she was actually asked to be at the cyber symposium where Mike Lindell was going to do his best to try to convince people with evidence that he had that there was interference through a foreign nations, that these machines allegedly were hooked to the internet. And what that did was she was there to present her information, and then her office was illegally raided. Of course, they didn't get the information. I don't know whatever happened to that. I don't think they ever found that information. I don't know who's got it, but somebody's got it. I don't know who. But they tossed her office inside out trying to find these thumb drives of where they had archived the 2020 election. Did they ever find that stuff, Matt? Do you know?
I have no idea. I haven't heard anything.
Do you remember in Arizona, Karen Fan sold out to get her brother a whole bunch of contracts of really exuberant amounts of money, and then just gave in to the routers? Remember that?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
That was whenever being a Karen was really not, still not good, but everybody was willing to overlook her Karen name because she was doing the country justice, because at one time she was putting up a pretty strong fight and advocating for what happened in 2020. But then all of a sudden, when she was offered this sweetheart deal, Karen Fan in Arizona immediately just hightailed, retired from office, and did not produce any of the routers that would have proved what machines they were connected to at the time.
Well, at the time, I think actually the routers and everything was in a lawsuit at the time.
They were,
and and I'm pretty sure the judge actually ruled they couldn't have it because because the ones that were holding it was actually the sheriff of the county itself. I'm trying to remember the county, Maricopa. Yeah, Maricopa County.
Yeah, Maricopa. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if she had. Now she had a lot to do with. There's a lot of connections with the sheriff and also her brother, so on and so forth. So yeah.
Do you remember when they were doing that forensic
audit
forensic audit?
Yeah.
They came after the guy who did that afterwards and lawsuited him to death. But during that forensic audit, they were flying that military plane around that was able to gather data for hours on end. Remember that?
Yeah.
Man, I just kind of memory hold stuff because anybody that we should not forget what happened. I know that we can't change it, and that we won't. We've got to move forward a little bit, but we can't forget some of the. I mean, how much money did it cost to run that military craft hours on end, like they did, gathering up data for whatever reason they needed to gather up that cell phone data and all that. I mean, how much money did that was Bill Barr that was behind that too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, that happened while Biden was in office.
Oh, okay, so it was Merrick Garland that did that.
I guess, yeah. Or it was either that or it was state itself. I don't know.
Huh. Pretty wild stuff. Yeah. So anyways, where are we at here? I'm gonna find something to what's here? Something Canada going through it too.
Well, hey, did you hear about what happened on Fox News? Trey Gowdy says it's time to choose between freedom or protecting your children. A Republican is on Fox News saying that it's either your guns or your kids. And I'm like this. What? I mean, this guy used to, most of y'all guys know who Trey Gowdy is. I'm sure you've seen him on Fox News. He's an acolyte of, I call an acolyte of people like John Boehner, also Matthew McConaughey, not him, but anyway, Kevin McCarthy, and people like that, rhinos. Okay, And this guy comes out and says this, and my first reaction is like this. Okay, you obviously are not never going to run for office. That's your plan, and and I was like, so you're actually allowing these people to actually convince you, or not? He's falling for the psyop, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because they're blaming the gun instead of blaming. Let me think. I mean, there's a lot of things I blame on this on. The first thing, what kind of drugs was this kid on? And I'm not talking about like outside of recreation drugs. I'm talking about drugs when it comes to mental illness. What kind of drugs?
Psychotropics.
Yeah. Well, no. I'm talking about SSRIs when it comes to
whatever. Yeah, same thing. Psychotropics is antidepressants, things like that.
Well, SSRIs, yes. But also the other thing is what you got me all messed up now. But I got a lot of questions about that. That also, why did the parents allow him to change his name when he was 17 years old and sign off on that? Or her name, whatever. It was a guy from Robert to Robin. Why would the parents agree to that? I just don't even understand it.
Well, you got to remember that Britney Spears' parents let her get boob implants at 16.
You got to codify their mental illness. It's crazy.
Yeah. I have a video I want to play too before we wrap this up. Is of not Pete Booty Juice, but Pete Hegseth, the good Pete. He's actually explaining to us that we've had Chinese nationalists who are pretty much Communist Party operatives working in the Department of Defense in charge of very classified documents. Tell me this isn't a disaster.
Last month, the Department of Defense was made aware of an Obama-Biden era legacy program called Digital Escorts. For nearly a decade, Microsoft has used Chinese coders, remotely supervised by U.S. contractors, to support sensitive DoD cloud systems. The program was designed to comply with contracting rules, but it exposed the department to unacceptable risk. I mean, if you're thinking America first and common sense, this doesn't pass either of those tests. So I initiated an immediate review of this vulnerability, and I want to report our initial findings. So the use of Chinese nationals to service Department of Defense cloud environments, it's over. We've issued a formal letter of concern to Microsoft documenting this breach of trust, and we're requiring a third-party audit of Microsoft's digital escort program, including the code and the submissions by Chinese nationals. This audit will be free of charge for U.S. taxpayers. I'm also tasking the Department of Defense experts with a separate investigation of the digital escort program and the Chinese Microsoft employees that were involved in it. These investigations will help us determine the impact of this digital escort workaround. Did they put anything in the code that we didn't know about? We're going to find out. Additionally, all Department of Defense software vendors will identify and terminate any Chinese involvement in DoD systems. It blows my mind that I'm even saying these things. It's such common sense that we ever allowed it to happen. That's why we're attacking it so hard. We expect vendors doing business with the Department of Defense to put U.S. national security ahead of profit maximization. I'm committed, like the president is, to ensuring that our national security networks are secure. Again, it's America first, and it's common sense. This never should have happened in the first place, but once we found out about it, we've attacked it aggressively from the beginning, and we're going to follow all the way through the tape to make sure that this is addressed. So DoD is working in conjunction as well with our partners in the rest of the federal government to ensure that all U.S. networks are protected. God bless.
Congratulations, Frank Bishop. Congratulations, Frank Bishop.
What I missed? My
wife and I just had our new great-grandson born last night.
Great-grandson. Wow, Frank, I hear you, dude. Yes, good deal, man. It's there. You know what I've noticed? This year has been somewhat of a baby boom. I mean, or is it just me? Am I noticing?
I think it's just you. You got babies. You got babies on your mind.
Well, I mean, it's like, you don't see an El Camino till you get one. You're like, wow, there's still a bunch of these things around. Ford Ranger, but anyway, so we got a baby on the way. So, but everybody's pregnant around here. We went like my wife was even walking through Food Line. This was a while back before she was pregnant. She's like, I don't see people pregnant anymore. I'm like, yeah, I don't either. And then all of a sudden, now that she's pregnant, everybody was like pregnant too. So, anyways, that's good. Good deal. Good deal. Um, Matt, what do you think about that? Did you probably already seen that? But what do you think about that? Is that crazy or what?
Well, my question is, when was the system put in? Was it put in during the Biden administration? So,
He said it was during the Obama era stuff.
well, that explains a lot too, since they're pro China too. So I'm not surprised by any of it. The thing, the thing is how much has that been incorporated into other systems throughout the Pentagon and throughout also our whole government. I just don't know, and it's something they're gonna have to figure out. They need to, if they're gonna buy a program to put in that stuff, they need to make sure it's American made. And that means if it's Microsoft, more likely it's Chinese developed. Because the thing is, when it comes to Numbnuts McGee, Gates,
Okay.
he's
Yeah.
pretty much forfeited all of Microsoft's development programs to China.
Well, if somebody like McAfee, the guy who was that what was that guy's name? Something McAfee, John McAfee, the one that did that has the antivirus, but then he was ended up being held in some kind of Brazilian jail and all that. You remember he sent a bunch of these government officials computers pro bono. So here you go, but then he incorporated a bunch of his coding in there so that he could monitor their actions. And instead of uncovering what they did to him, he uncovered all the stuff about Hillary Clinton. Remember that guy, John McAfee?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And so if he did that, if he was smart enough to go, hey, oh, yeah, these people are dumb enough to take the computers. Here you are, you have the United States government going, hey, China, write our programs and stuff. The China's like, okay, we write program for you. Here you go, your program.
Oh,
And you're like, thank you.
we're dumb enough to take medicine from them too. So it is what it is.
Well, that in itself is just an all out tactic brought to you by Big Pharma, just because they got a sick sense of humor. But
It's
like
cheap labor. Was the reason they do
well,
that.
and got a sick sense of, but a lot of our Trump, they villainized Trump for being what do you call it, xenophobic, whenever he said we need all of our power grid stuff made in the United States. And the reason why he did that was because he understood that, you know, encrypted software is one thing, but encrypted hardware is another. Because if you put in secret devices that can operate under the radar when it comes to anything that's susceptible to an internet signal, 5G signal that can transmit on an unknown frequency, you can manipulate power grid components. You could manipulate hospital equipment. You could manipulate all kind of things, communication devices. And Trump knew this, and so he wanted our power grid stuff to be made over here, because if everything's got an encrypted Chinese chip and they wanted to shut the grid down or disrupt things to cause severe damage, because it would take years to replace some of the larger transformers, all it would take would be a crisscross of the distribution centers, and then boom, we're back in the Stone Ages within a matter of seconds. So that's a big deal, and yeah, that's very possible. Yeah. About the back in the 80s, cable boxes had microphones and stuff in them. Remember that?
Did
They did. Yeah, because people didn't believe it. Alex Jones was the one that brought to the table and told people this and explained it to them, and everybody called him a liar. He had a whistleblower that worked for some of the larger cable companies who dealt with these boxes that brought this stuff to the table. So he actually on camera tore one down, and then said and shown the components in these cable boxes that were able to communicate, and they could listen to what was going on in your house, doing all kind. It could have been for reasons of just trying to.
Yeah, that's how that's how the NSA used to work back then.
Yeah, and so so if you've got smart devices incorporated in homes left and right now, and these Chinese people, what if you're some kind of high-ranking elite person that has top secret clearance, and you buy a stove to put in your house that's got a Chinese incorporated chip, and they figure out who you are, and they just sit there and listen to all your conversations and things being talked about at the dinner table? Or better yet, what if they passed the thing that they did when they wanted to incorporate the that new Internet Patriot Act, where you couldn't have a VPN and all your mobile devices and Bluetooth devices were going to record things whether you knew it or not. And if they were needed to be used in court, there would be no reason to have an actual a subpoena by a judge, and that way they could use you to, if you were, you remember that, don't you?
Well, if it's part of the Patriot Act, they don't need a subpoena.
No, but I'm saying though, it was the Digital Patriot Act. Remember we were talking about this when it came
Yeah, I
to
don't. Yeah, I
yeah,
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, and so that's their own government using that stuff. But if the Chinese wanted to, infiltrate you, that'd be an easy way to do it, or anybody for that matter. That's a foreign. What we got domestic enemies. That's our government. So we could talk about that for years. But anyways, reaching to the top of the hour. Thank you, Matt, for being here.
Yeah.
At American Patriots, super awesome channel. Thank you for allowing me to do lives with you on Tuesday. By the way. Johnny Sunglasses, thank you for being here. Stormbringer, Frank Bishop.
Yeah. Aren't Chinese chips actually Taiwanese chips? China makes their own chips too, as well. But I guess it really depends. I think they actually get Taiwanese chips as well and do some different stuff with them. But it's not the chips that's the problem. It's actually some of the AI systems that are connected together when it comes to the smart devices, because you can actually with some of these smart devices you can connect them with with Alexa, stuff like that, and make Alexa run it. You know what I'm saying? It's that connectivity that's the issue, the programming itself, more than the actual chip itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect example is that big news that came out about, I don't know if any of you guys remember it, but it was like 9 months ago where out on the docks, the U.S. stopped using Chinese cranes because the Chinese were actually using the cameras that were on the cranes and used them to spy on the U.S. and seeing what they were actually unloading and loading at the docks and everything else and what was happening at the docks. Well, I think, I'll be honest with you, what I think it was meant to do so they could do covert operations and bring stuff in, probably when it comes to maybe illegal drugs and stuff like that.
They didn't want the Chinese people to see the government still doing Iran Contra. They tell on us. Yeah, pretty wild. Yeah. So, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you guys. And like I say, every Thursday at 6:30 East Coast Standard Time, we'll cut these lives. Matt and I will do this as long as Matt can. And just want to thank everybody for being here, guys. And check out Princess Raven on YouTube. And don't forget to hit the like on the way out and stuff, because YouTube is beating me to death. They hate this channel. Badge of honor, but damn.
All right, guys, I appreciate you guys coming and watching this, and I also appreciate William for letting me on. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to do our outro. We're going to get in there with that. And what the hell's going on? Okay, I got it now. I think I got it. Set video and roll out. I didn't hit it right. I messed it all up. You know that? Look.